Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for our 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. Let's begin straight away with our bullet points. Commissions responsible for the organization of the 54th National Youth Day have reported on logistics, security and civic engagement arrangements during a high-level preparatory meeting chaired by the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education. The officials emphasized that all measures are being finalized to ensure a smooth celebration of May 20th. As the fight against malaria continues ahead of World Malaria Day, Cameroonians have been speaking about the various preventive measures they personally adopt to protect themselves against the disease. Their responses highlight a combination of household practices and government initiatives aimed at reducing malaria transmission across the country. You have these stories and more in it. Thanks once more for joining us in a gesture underscoring the Parliament's commitment to national integration. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Right Honorable Theodore Ndatuo, received leaders of the Mbororo Social and Cultural Development Association at his residence for discussions on improving representation, empowerment and inclusion of the Mbororo pastoral community. The exchanges also focused on the impact of the ongoing crisis in the English-speaking regions, reaffirming Parliament's resolve to promote unity and address the concerns of minority groups. Bertrand Tita has an in-depth in the following report.
The Mboskuda delegation, representing Bororo communities from all the 10 regions of Cameroon, was led by its president, Barrister Adamu Amadu, and His Majesty Rufai Dairu Lamido of Didango. Their visit was to congratulate Right Honorable Datu Theodore on his election as Speaker of the House, to reaffirm the community's readiness to accompany him in the discharge of his duties. During the exchange, Barrister Adamu outlined the economic and cultural contributions of the Mbororo people, whose livelihood centers on cattle rearing and whose presence spans the entire national territory. He noted, however, that the community continues to face structural difficulties, including low involvement in electoral processes and limited access to decision-making spheres. The delegation advocated for stronger inclusion of the Mbororo minority in governance and policy formulation. Responding, the speaker described the Mbororo as a group depicting integration, giving their settlement across all 10 regions. He acknowledged their plight, particularly in the Upper Plateau Division of the West region, where a significant Bororo population resides, and recognized the added hardship brought by the socio-political crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Many Bororo families have been displaced or disrupted by insecurity linked to the crisis. Right Honorable Ndatu Theodore pledged to multiply actions directed at Mbororo empowerment. He cited the recently completed construction of a mosque in the Bangu Council area as one example of targeted support, alongside donations of aid and internally displaced persons from the community. He commended the delegation for its role in community development and hailed their history of peaceful coexistence and economic contribution through livestock production. The audience closed with a presentation of symbolic gift to the speaker. In line with Mbororo tradition, the delegation offered a shepherd's staff and a hat, items that signify leadership, high status, wisdom, and enlightened guidance. The speaker said he was humbled by the gesture and by the community's show of support. The meeting at Santa Barbara adds to a series of consultations Right Honorable Datu Theodore has held since his election, positioning the National Assembly as a forum for minority voices and inter-community dialogue. From Boskoda, the audience marked a renewed channel to press for policies that translate the Mbororo's nationwide presence into greater political participation and socio-economic security.
And as you heard in one of our lead stories, the Minister of Civic Education and Youth Affairs, Munana Futso, has this Wednesday presided over a high-level meeting for the preparation of the National Day, 54th National Day, as commissions reporting on logistics, security, and civic activities. Officials stressed that this year's event must be remarkable and therefore everything must be well placed to ensure a smooth 20th May celebration. We have Madoshe Kwiate and Melanimbo.
The Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, in a high-level meeting, have reviewed preparations for the 54th edition of the National Youth Day, with commissions presenting updates on logistics, security, and civic activities. The session aimed to ensure that everything is well placed for a smooth celebration. The meeting assessed the readiness of the various technical commissions tasked with organizing the official parade and related events across the country. The minister stressed the need for precision and coordination to uphold the prestige of the May 20th celebration.
This second preparatory meeting of the civil event marking the celebration of the 54th edition of National Day was aiming at assessing the preparation in different commissions, particularly those put in place to have a wonderful march past.
Beyond the traditional parade, this year's program will emphasize social cohesion, a community carnival scheduled for May 16th, followed by living together activities that will bring all communities together in line with President Paul Biya's November 2025 call to promote peace. The initiatives are designed to translate the head of state instructions into visible acts of unity and national harmony.
There are also other civil activities that are organized during this Unity Week, particularly for civic education, promotion of harmonious living together, animation, mobilization, and that's why we have a special or an innovative activity that was this carnival, this community carnival organized all over the national territory on the 16th of May. So that in each locality, this community carnival will be, after the carnival, will be followed by what we call the living together hubs.
The minister urged all commissions to maintain the highest standards, noting that the success of the National Day depends on seamless collaboration between the government, security services, and civil society. As preparations intensify, authorities say the 54th edition will blend ceremony with community action, with President Paul Biya presiding over the May 20th event and with peace-building activities leading up to it. The government is positioning this National Day as both a tribute to national unity and a practical demonstration of living together.
Elites from Leke have raised over 20 million francs CFA to finance the funeral rites of Division General Camille Nkwa Atega, who passed away on March 10, 2026 at the age of 86 after 5 decades of military service. The initiative, coordinated by the Divisional Committee for Development and Mobilization of the Elite and Vital Forces of Leke, led by Minister Henri Eyebe Aïssi, will culminate in a 3-day tribute from April 23rd to 25th, 2026 in Yaoundé and Okola. We have Melanimbo once more and Madoshe Kwiate.
The elite and vital forces of Leke have close ranks to organize a state-level farewell for Division General Camille Kwal Atenga, who died on March 10 at age 86. Under the banner of the Committee for the Development and Mobilization of the Elite and Vital Forces of Lekki, the departmental committee met like one large family this week to set the final details for a 3-day funeral honoring a man it called a patriot of the nation's military establishment. Lekki came together this evening like one big family gathered within the Departmental Committee for the Mobilization of Elite and Vital Forces for the Development of Lekki. Tonight is a sad occasion to celebrate the life of this division general who has been called to God. Born on August 3, 1940 in the Central region, Camille Kwal Atinga entered the École Normale in 1961 with the historic reunification class emerging as one of Cameroon's first senior officials after independence. He will go on to serve 50 unbroken years beneath the national flag before the illness claimed him last month. The Committee for the Development and Mobilization of the Elite and Vital Forces of Lekki, chaired by Henry Ayebe Ayisi, Minister of State Property, Surveys and Land Tenure, said the rites are being planned with dignity and honor, worthy of a soldier, writer, and member of the country's high elite. All necessary arrangements have been made to ensure the celebration takes place with the harmony and dignity benefiting the occasion. Funeral events are scheduled for April 23rd to April 25th, 2026 in Yaoundé and Okola, where the general will be laid to rest in his ancestral soil. Committee leaders said every logistical element is now in place to ensure that the celebration of his life. Their goal, they stressed, is to accompany the family from the first meeting to the final day and to see that all honors due at both national and family level are fully rendered. We are grateful for the support of everyone here with us. Once the funeral rites are complete, we will express our deepest thanks to all who stood by the family. Merci beaucoup. Solidarity has been swift and concrete. In a single evening session, the committee raised a sum of 20,650,000 francs CFA to support the general's relatives. The heart has spoken. The president told the audience of dignitaries and fellow generals thanking contributors for upholding the tradition of assistance to families in mourning. The committee thanks all contributors. We have maintained our standards of solidarity with over 20 million francs CFA raised this evening to assist the family of the late general. This outpouring shows the heart of our community. As Lekki and the wider nation prepare to say goodbye, the Committee for the Development and Mobilization of Elite and Vital Forces of Lekki framed the funeral as both remembrance and renewal. The Division General, who devoted half a century to Cameroon, is to receive an ultimate solemn tribute.
Let's now talk health in this newscast, where Cameroonians have developed strategies to fight against malaria alongside the efforts of the government to protect its citizens from the use of insecticides to long-lasting treated mosquito nets. No effort is neglected, as promised. Akante tells us in the following report.
Malaria prevention in Cameroon relies heavily on insecticide-based vector control, primarily through the mass distribution of long-lasting insecticide-treated mosquito bed nets and the recent introduction of new generation nets to combat increasing mosquito resistance. The government of Cameroon, through the National Malaria Control Program, regularly organizes nationwide campaigns to distribute free mosquito bed nets, distributing millions of nets each time. For example, a 2025 campaign aimed to provide over 16.8 million nets to households nationwide. The free distribution specifically targets high-risk groups, including children under 5 and pregnant women during prenatal consultations. Besides the treated mosquito nets, indoor residual spraying is used as a complementary measure in specific high-burden or urban areas. This involves applying insecticides to the interior walls and ceilings of homes, killing mosquitoes that rest indoors after feeding. The insecticides used range from sprays to the burning of spiral mosquito repellents, passing through electrically distributed, well-scented evaporator liquids, as well as cosmetic products, though these are less common. However, there are some challenges to insecticide effectiveness, like the significant resistance to pyrethroids, the primary insecticide in standard nets, which has been documented in major vectors like Anopheles gambiei and Anopheles funestus across Cameroon. Another challenge is the consistent usage gap for mosquito bed nets. Despite high ownership rates, often over 70 to 90%, actual nightly use of mosquito nets is lower due to factors like excessive heat, discomfort, and perceived suffocation. Also, many nets in use have physical damages like holes, which reduces their efficacy. A study found only 35% of nets in some regions were in good physical condition. As complementary measures, insecticide-based prevention is now being integrated with other tools for a multi-purpose approach in
The African Wildlife Foundation and the government of Cameroon have evaluated their 10 years of collaboration. This was during an audience granted to the foundation by the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife this Wednesday, April 22, 2026 in Yaoundé. From the discussions, it was revealed that investment by the foundation in Cameroon has increased rapidly. We have Promise Akante once more and Elise Yanda.
The African Wildlife Foundation is an African conservation agency founded in 1961 and headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya, working across the continent to encourage Africans conserve their heritage themselves. As the largest agency recognized by the African Union working with and for their host country, the African Wildlife Foundation has been investing in Cameroon over the past decade, with the investment witnessing an exponential growth from less than $500,000 10 years ago to close to $4 million today. Speaking to the press following the audience with the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife, Jules Dorendongo, the Chief Executive Officer of the African Wildlife Foundation did not fail to appreciate the government of Cameroon for the warm welcome and seamless collaboration.
We came here in Cameroon 10 years ago and we are spending less than $500,000 because of the work we've done here and the good work that has generated. We are able to raise more money and now we are spending $4 million.
The increase in investment directly translates as satisfaction on both sides and success on the ground.
That shows you that the work has been good, the impact is great, and I wouldn't be here if the government is not happy that we have done the work. So I think all the boxes have been ticked.
Described as Africa in miniature, the African Wildlife Foundation is working to help build a future in Cameroon where people and wildlife thrive, facilitating collaboration between the government, donors, and local communities to ensure that these landscapes remain protected and full of opportunities.
And if you're just joining us, it is the 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. Let's now take you beyond our borders to get updates of what make news. First up in Nigeria, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has carried out a cabinet reshuffle by removing the finance minister and appointing a former junior minister to lead the finance portfolio. The decision, announced by the secretary to the government, also saw changes in the housing ministry as the administration seeks to address wider economic pressures facing the country. Second stop will be in Sudan and then Mali. We have details of these stories in the following report. President Bola Tinubu has dismissed Finance Minister Wale Edun and appointed Taiwo Oyedele, previously a junior minister, in a cabinet reshuffle aimed at strengthening support for sweeping economic reforms ahead of next year's general elections. The decision, announced by George Akume, also saw Housing Minister Ahmed Musa Dangiwa replaced by Mutaka Rabe Dharma as the government grapples with rising inflation, a weak currency, a weak currency and economic pressures. Analysts say the appointment of Oyedele, who played a key role in recent tax reforms, signals the administration's determination to sustain policy implementation and restore public confidence in its economic agenda. As Sudan's civil war enters its fourth year, the capital Khartoum is gradually showing signs of recovery after the Sudanese armed forces regained full control of the city in 2025 following intense battles with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Despite the return of millions of displaced residents, much of the city remains heavily damaged with limited infrastructure and basic services slowly being restored. The conflict has left tens of thousands dead and millions in need of aid, creating what the United Nations describes as one of the world's most severe humanitarian crises. Russia's army announced that its Africa Corps unit successfully rescued 2 employees of a Russian geology company who had been held hostage for nearly 2 years by the Al-Qaeda-linked group for the support of Islam and Muslims after their abduction in southwestern Niger. The men were freed during a special operation in Mali and were reported to be suffering from serious health issues and exhaustion. The rescue highlights Russia's growing military involvement in the Sahel, where its Africa Corps has taken over many operations previously handled by the Wagner Group while supporting regional governments in their fight against jihadist insurgencies.
And it is with that news out of the country, ladies and gentlemen, that we set the curtains to this edition of our 6 p.m. news over Camdis television. Up next is Selactu, a presentation of Tabby Clarkson. Meanwhile, we meet again tomorrow when it's exactly 6 p.m. Stay tuned.